Hello everyone, quick tutorial. Well, it won't be that quick because you asked me to show you how I knit my socks to create a video that will be from the beginning till the end. So let's see how long it's going to take. My favorite method is knitting 2 at a time. I love to use my pouches because I can hold it together and basically I like to knit socks from the toes up, but obviously you can do it other way around. In this video I'm going to show you how to do it from toes up. I'm using Highest sharps. You can find not these but interchangeable sets in my shop. I love to use US size 1 2.25mm needles and they're sharp, so it's very easy to pick up stitches. For this size of needles we're talking about fingering weight yarn. As some of you may know, some of you may not know. So just a few words in regards yarn. We're looking for fingering weight yarn, and fingering weight yarn normally is something between, as you can see, in 100 grams, 366 meters, which is 400 yards, up to 425 meters, which is 465 yards. Either way, I'm using the same size of needles with the same stitch number for myself, which I like 56 stitches over here. So circumference, we may get a little bit tighter, a little bit looser, but, you know, we need to knit a few socks to find the perfect yarn for yourself, the perfect needles for yourself, and the perfect pattern for yourself, a recipe. So this is what I'm going to show you. Over here I have started already a pair, just so you see what we're aiming for. We're going to create a toe and we're going to knit a big tube. For my size, I like to knit from the moment I finished toes 60 rounds. For your size could be different. I like to mark it and then I'm knitting more. Depends how long calf do I want to get. With these socks I want to do 60, 40 and 20. At 20 that will be my ribbing at the end, which I'll do 2 by 2 for these. Yarn management, what I like to do, either way, the yarn is in the ball or yarn is in the skein, I like to cake it and I like to divide it to 2. Normally we have 100 gram in a ball of the skein, so once I have one cake, I divided it to 2 50 grams, like this. In regards patterned sock, if I want to have it matchy, I will be pulling from the centers and trying to find the same piece that's matching the yarn. I may be off, you know, a few stitches here and there, but at the end of the day, as you can see, you don't see it. They're quite matchy. Okay, so let's leave these, and I think that's all. Let's start. I forgot to mention, you may need a few progress keepers. They're the little things. If you're looking for something like that and you don't know where to find it, you can go check, link down below. My shop is open for you. So let's start. As I said, you can get needles in my shop. These are interchangeables, so you can change the tips and the cord. I'm using this kind of fancy Christmassy pouch from my shop, different than the brown one, because these are for gift knitting. So here it is, and here are needles, and you can take them off and put them back. If you're interested to get these, just to let you know, the cord is called sock cable and it is for specific sizes, tip sizes. So if you're looking for the needles like this, I will now on the screen show you what other tips will fit this cable. It's an unusual interchangeable cable because it's pink, so it's very easy to recognize it's for socks. Yarn. Yarn I got from a knit crate from Sock Crate membership. You can check them out. On the screen over here you can get 20% off for your first box for subscription, which is KL20. I will leave the link down below, and a few videos to my Sock Crate membership unboxing, so you can have a peek what I'm talking about. Right, so what we do once we have 2 cakes, what I like to do, I like to pull the yarn from the center, but if you like you can pull it from the outside, whatever you like. And what I like to do, I like to put it in the bag. The bag, I received this from my friend. She has an Etsy shop, so I'll put a link down below. She's from Canada, and you can notice that I like to mark my projects with different keychains. You can find these in my shop, so you can have socks, mittens, hats, and so on and so on. Once I have those two sticking out from the bag, we start knitting. Well, casting on. So first things first, what I like to do, I like to take one yarn. Depends how many stitches I want to pull. I'm pulling a little bit more. And I'm holding like this. So I'm holding like this. And then I'm trying to find the way, hold it the way that I see that my closer thread is blocked by the farther one. So this is right and this is wrong, as you see. So let's go back to this. I'm going outside, inside, which gives me 1 and 2 on each needle. Outside, inside, outside, inside. And I'm doing that until I get 12 stitches on each needle. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 2 is 12 each, so I have 24 overall. I'm leaving the way, sliding to the side, and taking yarn from the second ball. The same story, I'm grabbing, and believe me, every time I do it, I have to figure out which way it has to go, just to make sure that this one is blocked by the upper one. Because we're going to swing this one outside to the inside and this one from outside to the inside. Try, see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. So what we're going to do, we're going to take it. And as you can see, I crisscross this, no worries. And what I do next, the first round, I just knit. I just knit first round. So main thing is to grab a proper thread from the bag. Once I do this, this is our button. So and here we have a purl bumps. So we can see the purl bumps, and we take the second needle and we're going to knit. Once I finished, I have to drop this thread and find the one that comes from here to the bag. At this point, I'll try to double check how many stitches I have, because as you may see, this loose thing, that is also a stitch. So I like to grab it and then take the yarn from the ball and knit with it. That way I'll have an equal number of stitches on both needles. No worries, once we do a full round, I'm going to double check that I do have 12 stitches on each needle. Ta-da! Once I have this, I'm pulling the cord to get the needle back in. And once I have this needle, now we know that we have purl bumps over here. Here we have stockinette stitch. We go on the purl bumps, grab the yarn, and we're pulling this second needle. And we're going to finish around. This time, as you can see, my stitches sit slightly different. The second leg is behind, not in the front. So I'm knitting through the back loop. At this point, I like to check, do I have 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yes. And let's do the second sock. The same story. Stitches are in a different position, so I'm knitting through the back. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as we do not want at this stage to have an even number. So let's pull those ends so to tidy up. And now we're going to do a decrease round. And the way you can do it, you can have it in loads of ways. You can make one left, make one right. You can take a stitch under the previous needle and knit through that. There's loads of methods, but I'm showing you the way I like, and it's quick. And I'm not saying it's the best or the nicest, but the way I'm actually enjoying. I'm enjoying the most. So what do we do? Again, make sure that you have the yarn from the ball, and we knit. This time we knit through the front. We knit one, and then we knit through the front, and then staying in the same stitch, we knit through the back, and we increase by one stitch. We're knitting until the last 2 stitches on the needle. Well, in this sock, and we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to knit through the front, stay in the stitch, knit through the back, pull it out, and then just knit the last stitch. So we increased 1 stitch on both sides on one needle. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Knit, knit through the front, knit through the back, and then knit till the last 2, and then knit through the front, knit through the back, and then knit the last stitch. Lovely. We're going to prepare again. With that pulling, be aware that you're pulling the right needle, not that you're sliding everything off your needles. Brilliant. Grab the yarn, and now let's do it one more time. So now, next stage. Next stage, what I like to do, I like to mark the beginning of each round. Normally I would know because of the thread sticking out, but it'd be handy to just mark it. And the way I do it, I like to put it through 2 stitches over here. And it's dingling. And I know already that this is always the beginning of my round. So we did a decrease row. You could actually see by that little purl bump, just in case you left it and now you're taking and knitting with it. So after the increase row, we're going to do 1 knitting row. The same story when you see pearls, you pull the 2nd needle and you knit. Sometimes I get this, there is a system of moving, apparently there's a system to move it, equally one side and another side when you switching, but well, I like to have it like this and even have fun to have it rounded, because at some point I can just decide that I'll knit until I'll just move the needles clockwise and anti-clockwise to unravel the mess. Just saying. So now again, this next row will be increase row, and we'll be doing those increase row, just knit row, increase row, knit row, until we get a certain number of stitches on the needle, on the needles in the round. So what I like to do for my size of feet, I like to have 56 stitches. For Seb, 64 stitches, and that's basically good for any male member of my family I knit, and these socks are for male member. So I'm going to increase to 64 stitches, which will mean that I need to knit and increase every 2nd row until I get 32 stitches over here. And I think I'm going to see you when I do this, because you've seen a lot. Yep, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to knit on it whatever I can. That's how I knit socks. And we'll go back to you when I'll have more. I'm back. So as you can see, I took my time and I made toes. They're little kind of triangular bits. I love knitting from toes up because while you're knitting, you can actually put your foot and measure, is it too small or too big? Remember, we're trying to have socks with negative ease, which means that you feel that it stretches a little bit. What else? The minus of knitting from toes up is if your recipient or yourself will make a hole in the toes, it's a little bit harder to fix. But it's possible. Right, so let's do. As I said, what we were doing, we were increasing. So we were working this way, we're going up. First round we were increasing, and second round we were knitting until we were getting a certain number of stitches. I knit these for a male, so I did 64 stitches with my gauge. What next? Next is quite a simple thing. What I like to do at this stage, I like to move my progress keeper just up here, so I'll know that this row will be the first one, or you don't have to count this one either. And what we do from now on, we just knit in the round. Let's see how it goes one more time. Just to let you know, I'm knitting this way just in front of the camera, but most of the time when I have to switch side of knitting, normally I put my socks on my lap and help myself that way. It's quite awkward over here, so find your own technique. Remember to pull a proper cord. And now, you know what the story is, but let's say I forgot to change yarn and I continue with the one over here. So let's do a few stitches because it happens. Even it happens to me. And at any stage you realize that you have that yarn here. Probably the first time when you realize will be when you're coming back. You may. That's why I like to always try if I'm pulling the right one. So what to do? We need to, you can see it, grab the leg, the right leg below, and take the stitch off the right needle. One by one. Okay, let's see, have I messed up anything? Now, you can notice that I dropped more than I should. In that case, what I like to do, I like to put this strand over here, grab the needle, and pull it over. Okay, now I can knit this one. The same story over here, double check in the bag, you will see a loose yarn. So I just grab it, pull it over here, move it over, and just knit. And as you can see, everything looks fine now. And we're just knitting. What will happen if I knit those two without putting them back on? Nothing. You will have just a kind of nice design going up a little bit, and that's all. So don't afraid to try. And quickly what will happen if you drop a stitch, basically you pick the loop, you try to specify the order of your yarn, lift one, move it over, lift another one, move it over. So you're back on the track. Any other questions that you can do weird with your needles? What will happen if you pull the wrong one? Oh, do you see this? No worries. You gently grab and assess situation. So in my case, I could literally see how nice I can see all those bumps. See how nice you can see all the bumps. Just try to pull it through. Whatever you find. And pull it back. What you can do, you can count your stitches that you have enough. If you find that the one is just sticking, if you find that the one is just staying down below, just knit to the point and do exactly what I've just showed you when you drop a stitch. And basically you can look back and see that we have nice bumps, not a one big long one. And you know that you're fine. What else I need to do? I need to just knit a long tube. That's the way I like it. And depends for who I'm knitting. If I'm knitting for myself, I told you I have 56 stitches and I like to do now 60 rounds to mark my heels. I'm knitting it for someone else, and in that case what I do, I try to make sure that I know where that person, the distance between the toe and the position of their ankle is, and that will be my place to place a heel. You can do it a few ways. You can measure the foot, or you can take a sock that you've knitted before maybe, or someone is knitted before maybe, and just place the heel where you placed before. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this lovely color, and we're going to back to completely different beautiful color sock. Just to continue, just to speed things up, I hope you would not mind. So now we have those cute bunny ears. No worries, I'll be knitting all these socks, so subscribe if you haven't, and wait for my finished object videos, because I like to post videos about my hats, shawls, socks, garments and stuff that I finish. If you're interested in that, stay tuned and subscribe, hit that bell. Okay, let's grab this different pair of socks. Okay, hello, so we're back with a different whip, so work in progress, socks. And we have a different pouch because I like to mark whatever I knit. So the previous pouch is a gift knit, and this is for me. I like to have a one gift knit on the go. So here we have socks the same way. We were doing toe and I was knitting a big tube. I mentioned that I like to mark 60 rounds, which is here, and I did it on both socks, so I don't have to worry. And accidentally just came up where I have that line over here, which is amazing. Okay, let's show you what I have. Here there are hayas, the same size. I like to use US size 1 2.25mm needles, and this is a fixed needle. That's why we have a blue cable. Fixed means I can't get these off. So now we were knitting quite long. I did, in this case for myself, 60 rounds. You may do a little bit more, and then depends how long the cuff I want to have. And I decided to have it a little bit longer, so I have 60 and here I have 40. So the next stitch, what I'm going to do ribbing, and I'm going to do 2 knit to purl, but I've decided to change the color, because why not? We can go wild over here. You can make the cuff a little bit shorter if you want to, and then we will call them shorties, which you can have it just above or below ankle. So now let's grab yarn. So here's the yarn I'm going to use for the heel and the ribbing, and the one that you're seeing is Bergia de France. I received it as a gift from a friend, Scalar, that's the cover. Just to let you know, no worries, I will have a finished update video for these socks too, so stay tuned. Once I finish this, I will cut the yarn approximately this way and slide the needles to the side. Now let's move our progress keeper just to know where the beginning is. So here, I am not going to divide this yarn to do separate bulbs because the color is quite tonal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the end from the inside and grab the end from the outside and put it to the back so it won't go anywhere. So now I'm going to just leave this inside. We'll take care of it later. I'm just going to grab a yarn, leave it, pull it, and just knit first round. Now the same story. I'm dropping this, taking a new end, making sure I have a long tail behind, and knit with it. Double check that I have a proper yarn. So now we finish a round of knitting, and now we can do ribbing. So you can do loads of ribbings. The one I like, it's the basic one, to knit to purl, and that's why we're talking about 56 stitches, 64 stitches, 60 stitches, any number that you can divide by 4. However, don't worry too much about it. Even if you cast on if you want to have here a different number of stitches, you just make a set up row, so you can decrease or increase by stitch by 2, just to get the number of stitches you need for your ribbing, because you can have 1 by 1, you have 2 by 2, you can have 3 by 2, you can have loads. I'm just showing you my favorite one, the easiest one, the one I don't have to think too much, which is 2 knit and 2 purl. Okay, and I'm completely lying to you now. This was a proper purl, the way you purl, so I'll show you again. But the way I do it, it's I normally knit, and I slightly differently scoop the yarn over here, which gives you a twisted stitch effect on the wrong side. I call it PC because it's clockwise, and if we do proper way, we have anti-clockwise, the way we wrap the yarn around the needle. But go the right way, always do, don't listen to me over here. I would say do it the right way. And you see, I'm staying with 1. I make a boo-boo already. I have 3 over here. So let's go back. So here, how we go back when you do a ribbing. So we have 2, and there we go. Does my purl change something? Well, yes or no. It will change a little bit of texture, but non-knitter will not notice, and maybe even a knitter will not notice the ribbing unless they start actually looking at it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish here and be back with you when we'll be doing a bind off. I don't know what is wrong with me, but I'm making mistakes. And this is what I like about Hiya Sharps, because the tip is very pointy. It's so easy to go back. And I think I did 3 over here again, like, come on. I love pointy needles because of this. Well, I don't knit in front of the table. I'm going to wrap it and come back to you when I have something more done. Oh yeah, and I'll try to put all the links down below to the things that I'm showing, if you can grab them and love them. Hello everyone, a few days later, and let's see, yes, here socks, and I knitted here. We finished doing ribbing, and you can do it as long as you want. What I did over here, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now, what do I like to do? At this point, you probably know how knitted stitches look like. So there are 2, and here purl stitches, kind of wrapped yarn underneath. And it's easy to count also, if you don't know how to count these, to count actual lines over here. So let me show you. So we have 1, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The way I like to bind off, I know it's not the perfect one, so if you know the better one, let me know. and that's the one I'm using. So first we knit, second we knit, and then we move the stitches over here. I don't remove my needle, and I just knit those two through the back loop. Now I see a purl stitch, so I purl, I put the needle through both, and I knit through the back. I see purl, so I purl, put the needle through, and knit through both. And again, I hope you get an idea what I'm doing over here. And I think it is called stretchy bind off. I hope I'm right. I haven't even actually checked it. This is the way I spot somewhere, I heard somewhere to do, so I don't have a source actually. So that's that. So let's do it all. I'll be back with you in a sec. Okay, so as you can see, I did one. I still have the other one. I just wanted to show you how I finish. So what I like to do, see the first column of the knit, I try to grab two legs of the leaning stitch with this needle. And then I knit it through it. And then I'm pulling the stitch through the remaining stitch on the right, and then I'm knitting through the back loop, but only for me to pull the yarn and cut it and pull it gently, and that evens things up a bit. No worries, I normally put that waving ends. One is done. I still have other half to do. So now, once we have this finished, what I do, I like to do Afterthought heels 2 at a time. So how I'm doing it. So we have marked places where we're going to pick up stitches, or we can do it at that level. Luckily this yarn kind of creates the line that I want to cut. So we're going under, very hard to show hopefully anyway. So we're going with that blue, and I'm picking up right leg. And as you remember, with these socks, I casted on 56 stitches, so I'm picking up only 28 stitches. I hope I'm right. So at some point I'm going to count. Let me see this. Oh, this line will going to stay, but well, what we can do. Okay, so as you can see, I have a bottom row picked up right. I have here 28. I'm going to take second needle and pick above the same story. So as you can see, this is how it looks like. What I do, I pull it, take the stitch marker and put it over here. And put it over here because that will be our beginning of the round. Once this is pulled, once we have it on the cord, just be sure that we're grabbing proper needle. We're grabbing second sock. This was my bottom needle, so I'm grabbing stitches under. Okay, let's see you in a sec. Maybe this is going to be a hint too. The way I count, I normally do one. I'm counting twos. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I'm using that way because otherwise I will just skip. Or you can do it whatever way you want to. I'm just showing you how I do things. Right, so next thing we need something sharp and something pointy. Standard scissors, I would not recommend them because they're not as sharp. Do you see the difference? The tips, look at the tips. Okay, so what we're going to do, I like to pull them together so I know that they're proper, that I didn't twist anything. So if you do that, you will have to redo it before you cut anything, I would suggest. So now what we're going to do, we're going to count half of the stitches and cut the right leg in that middle row on both socks and unravel. So let's see. I like to pull properly, stitch so I'm not grabbing anything. Move the fabric in the back so you know you haven't grabbed anything either. And snip. Lovely. So do the same thing. Make sure. I'm using one of the needles. Make sure that you still have a loop over here. Grab and pull. And I could be adventurous and pull this one or leave this one. It's up to you actually. I'll pull. Let's go over here. I have two. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So now both sides, they have holes. I have stitch markers pointing where the needles are. I'm putting those ends inside. Later on we'll be weaving them in. So in case you feel that you have some holes, you shouldn't actually, but if you feel like it, then you can hide it with it. So that's also the good thing. If you do Afterthought Heel, you will have those ends of yarn that you can use. We're going to grab yarn as we did for ribbing, and we're going to knit. Sometimes what I like to do, I like to knit 2 stitches with the, oh I didn't do that, but with the end, and then take it from the ball and knit the rest. Well, if I remember. Just remember to double check that you're pulling it from the ball. So let's do this. You see, I have this end. I'll just do one more. And then I'm grabbing from the ball and doing the rest. And I knit like this for 56 stitches, 3 rounds. For 64 stitches, I knit 4 times before I decrease. Okay, so I knitted a second round on one sock, and just to show you, we have 2 ends, right, with the yarn that we started and the yarn that we cut off. So we try to pull it gently just to tie that first stitch. Take the yarn and now knit it through gently, not to pull that stitch. Why? Because otherwise we will have the tendency to create a bigger stitch with that second round, and that would, you know, kind of stretch when we put the sock on. And I know we can pull those ends later on, but still that first stitch on the second round we won't be able to pull it anymore. So well, just something to think of. Okay, I'm on the second round and I need to do one more and we will start the creasing. Okay, now so we have 3 rounds, and what we're going to do, we will start the creasing, so we'll be going up. But first let's do a few rounds. So how do you do? We do first the crease round and then we'll do knit round. And we'll repeat that until we have 12 stitches on one needle. So here. So now we're going to knit one. Then we will do SSK, which basically means we have to grab 2 stitches like this and knit. So we have a left lean, as you can see. We're knitting until we get to the 3 stitches on the needle, and this time we're going to do knit 2 together. So basically we will decrease by 1, leaning towards right, and knit the last one. Okay, let's try to do it again. On the second one, grab, remember about switching yarns, knit 1. Now we do SSK, so we have to flip those stitches so they look like this. Then we knit through the back, right up to 3 stitches, knit 2 together. This time we don't do anything with the stitches, and 1 knit. And we repeat that on the other side. And then once we finish the round, we're going to knit 1 round. And that way we'll be decreasing until we get 12 stitches. So So just to show you how it looks like, because I kind of had some time to knit on these, and it will look like this. These socks are slightly bigger. They have 64 stitches, and I was decreasing it until I reached 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 2 is 12. So over here now, what we can do, we do Kitchener stitch. That you will need tapestry needle. You pull those stitches nicely. You leave the long yarn, basically few times the length of the actual thing. Okay. And we get a needle. And for that we will need tapestry needle. Oh, so now this is tapestry needle, although it's a little bit sharp. How we put actual thread, not through the end. We should round it like this, a loop, and then pull it through the hole. That way nothing splits, and then we pull the end. Just saying, half of my life I was doing it the wrong way, so just letting you know. Okay, and what we do, as you can see here, we have knit stitches, and inside we have purl stitches. So we're going to start with the knit. So what we do, we will put the needle through as we would knit, pull it out, and then as the purl, and we leave it on. It's kind of modified a bit, Kitchener stitch, but I'm showing you the way I do it. Then, as we see purl stitches over here, we put the needle through and slip the needle as we would purl, and then put the needle through as we would knit, and we leave it on. And we repeat that until we get 2 stitches. Now, so I finished this one. I'm going to show you in a sec how to finish. It's just what I noticed, and you should be aware of, that you have equal number of stitches on both needles. Over here I don't. I have 12 over here and 14 over here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put links into the individual, let's say, tutorials, or think how I do this, basically the same stuff what I'm showing you, with a proper number of stitches. If you want to check that one, go have a look on the screen how it looks like. And I'm going to show you how to fix this thing, or at least how I do it, that it looks like this. Okay, so let's put the needle on. Well, now I know that I have not an equal number, but normally how it happens, I don't really count, and I'm ending up with more over here. So let's do the same thing, that I'm just ending up with more over here, and I'll show you how I work around it, because no way I'm frogging. So we do the same thing. We basically slip knitwise and leave the purlwise, then slip the purlwise and keep the knitwise. As I said, easy to remember, because you see the first thing that you do on your needle will be the way you see the stitches over here. Purlwise, we're grabbing 2, slide, and 2, knitwise, and leave. Now 2 stitches and 1, those 2 together, that's 2. I'm going to go 2, 2 knitwise and off the needle, and those all purlwise and off the needle. How does it look like? Looks now what I do, I put the needle through. The way I weave in ends is I try to follow stitch. So I grab 2, or I should have said yarn. I see that the yarn is going down, and up over here. Just follow the yarn. If I'm not sure, I go slightly lower, and eventually it will make sense. I hope now you can see it more. See this? Now it's proper. Just going with a horseshoe up and down. Okay, and what I like to do it through all the heel. Once I do it all, I take a clip and clip it. So here is a toe, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing what I did with the heel. Not sure that I recorded it, so if I didn't, the same thing we do with the heel. Now, I love waving ends when we have ribbing. So, as you can see, I'm kind of happy the way it's connected, but if you're not, you can basically pull the yarn through a little bit towards direction you think it's lower, and do this, right? What we do, we pick one knit row. Obviously you would have a knit if you actually do a proper purl, but I showed you the one I like it, so that's why I have a twisted knit on the other side. And what I do, I basically pull the needle through those V-stitches, horizontal. Do you see it? Okay. So you see that light one? I'm going through 2 legs. And then do you see the purple? Through the purple. And through the blue. And through the purple. And I like to have it enough until I reach the bottom of the purl. Pull it nicely. And as you can see, on the bottom of this knit we have purl stitch. And I just like to purl it down and up and through the second column and back. And now cut. Well, obviously if I have enough, if I don't have enough somewhere over here, I will snap because life happens. And snip. Now let's go back to our heels. In this case I was using one color, so we have 1 on one side and 2 on the other. 2 on one side. Now we all have exactly the same situation. You have 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Okay, so you can pull it nicely, and you could see, do you need to fix anything? You can see a small hole over here. And once we pull this, we could go back over here and do some nice stuff, yeah? Okie dokie. So, the way I would do it, as I can see, there's no issues over here. So we can just gently pull it through a few stitches. And then I would do the side omega or horseshoe shape. Sorry. Maybe like this. Gentle. And again here. 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 Very gentle. Don't pull. Just leave the yarn in. Okay. Better. And snip. This is it. And I'll be doing the same thing on this side. Trying probably to get through through this stitch, through this, grab here, go like this. And this is what I did. I went down over here. Once I reached that, I could see my lovely, see this, horseshoe shaped yarn, and I chopped it, and there was no need to go back over here for more holes, so I just basically did this side. So here is the side, and here's another side. There's no holes whatsoever, so I love it so much. I know it's not a perfect heel, but in case you're not so bothered to frog and redo this, you can do what I did over here. And if you want to have it perfect, I will put some links down below to a few stages, few things how I show, for instance, how to do a Kitchener stitch. I hope you enjoyed this one. I still have a few things to do, and I hope you're going to subscribe and follow, because soon I'm going to have one finished object video. I will talk more about these socks, what yarn I used, what needles I used, and then in a while, once I finish these ones, we'll have another finished object video, and I'll tell you what kind of yarn I used over here, what kind of needles I used. So let's leave it for a while, and I hope to see you soon.